If you're thinking about banking in United Arab Emirates, or you're just curious to know how it works, and maybe you're thinking as a non-resident or a resident how to open a bank account, this video is going to explain everything from the day that I first came here and I opened my first personal bank account all the way up to investment banking through corporate and private banking. Hi, this is Jeremy from the Millionaire Migrant. I left the UK in my 20s. I traveled around the world. I've been to close to 90 countries right now. I have also opened a very large citizenship and residency by investment company that has about 70 people across 8 different countries. And as a result of this whole journey, through banking, through tax, through recruitment, through hiring people, through investing in real estate, investing in startups, I have a lot of experience, which now I have decided that I'm going to start sharing with a lot of people who'd be interested to know about a life that is more global, whether you're a global citizen, whether you're interested in flag theory and geo-arbitrage opportunities, and all the places that you can make money, protect money all around the world. Over the years, I get asked a lot because I've been through a lot of this with many, many different banks and all different types of banks in the UAE and obviously overseas banks in between. A lot of people ask about what it's like here. Personal banking is a very straightforward topic. I'm talking more about corporate banking, private, and then investment banking. A few things that need to be addressed, and there is one main takeaway that I'm going to share with you, which I hope that you remember by the end of this video. And it's that one rule that if you follow this, everything is going to become a lot more straightforward. Now, when I first came here, I had a job. It was a job that I got headhunted from the UK for, and I came here. And with that, I opened my first bank account, which was a personal banking account with Emirates NBD, which is ENBD, which is probably the biggest bank by market share in in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, probably in general. Now, it was very straightforward. I don't remember, but it was more than 15 years ago. What I do remember is that that is probably not the best bank for you at corporate banking. It's my own personal opinion. Some of you might disagree. I think a lot of that has to do with the business that you do, the volume that you do, the turnover, type of clients that you may have with their resident, non-resident, and the service, the business activity on your license. I'll come to corporate banking shortly, but first, to continue the path on personal banking, nowadays you have WEO and lots of other online bank accounts which are very tech savvy. You don't need a branch, don't need to visit the branch. They're very easy to open and they're really good in a first instance. However, I think that once you start to scale up and you want to look at different options, WEO is not really for you. I think WEO is for people who just want to keep things very vanilla, very simple, and it's fine. It's very easy to open. But I think that at some point you might outgrow that, because as one thing I noticed is that if you work really hard and you get a lot of opportunities and you take advantage of those opportunities, things will get bigger, and bigger means more complicated, and you probably will outgrow WEO and all the other online banks. One question that I get asked a lot is it possible to have a bank account without having a residency? It's possible to open a bank account in the UAE, yes, without having a residency, although it's not easy and fewer banks are doing it. However, if you did do it and you did manage to find a bank that was okay to do it, which as I mentioned is probably almost impossible these days, it was possible before, you're not going to be able to transfer that money out until you have the residency. So they're very happy to say, come and bank with us, open an account and put the money in, but to get it out without being a resident, again, that doesn't happen anymore, and I think you'll find that happens in a lot of other countries. I'm not saying that it isn't possible in other countries. You'll just find that the payoff with that is that you just won't get a service, or it will be a bank that will really be for just small amounts of money, and you start having more questions when you start to transfer bigger amounts of money. The golden rule that I'll come back to later in this video. But the first part of that golden rule is basically, it's like you can't have everything for free. There is no perfect situation where you can be non-resident, open it remotely, and be able to deal with large transactions. And again, coming to those transactions, what is the source of those transactions? What jurisdictions they're coming from? Are they blacklisted jurisdictions? Are they grey jurisdictions? Are they coming from certain nationalities? Forget about sanctioned nationalities. There's a whole nother world of problems. But also in terms of what type of business you're doing. If they see anything with crypto related, I know one guy came in who was one of my tenants, and his whole bank account got frozen because they just saw the word NFT. Now, I think in his situation, he probably was doing NFTs. And so in which case you'll see how the UAE approaches large transactions around something which everybody's well aware now is a load of rubbish, and took advantage of people who wanted to get rich quick. Something which is a real bugbear of me, and I'll keep talking about it in other videos because I'm a father, I've got kids, and when I see all this stuff that gets sold online and all that type of stuff for get rich quick, I have a real problem with that. And I think at some point in these videos, I'll start going for those people that start doing that type of stuff. In terms of documentation, it was all online. It's not a massive amount of work. It's only when you do corporate banking where you'd have to basically demonstrate your company profile, an example of expected turnover, an expected number of transactions. That also wasn't a difficult process. What did become a difficult process is that you realize that some banks aren't really that interested in it. And I don't want to call out Emirates MBD again, but I didn't find that. I was with them and we had a great experience, but I just find that that wasn't really a strategic part of the bank. That may now have changed, and in which case you should probably look at Emirates MBD again. But since then, I moved on to other banks such as ADIB, ADCB, and to name a few others. They also, a lot of the banks got consolidated, which meant that they would be able to, I found, got a much better service because there was a lot of smaller banks which they all basically merged. Some people would want to have a bank that is very robust and has very straightforward relationship management experience and will give you the type of service you want. I think that's fine. It really depends on what you're doing. You'll have some banks that are very flexible, should we say, but their online banking system is very, it's very archaic and it's not the best. But you'll find that on a case-by-case basis, they can do things a little bit old school, which if you want that is very good. But in other matters, you find the customer service is not good, but the online platform is very decent to use. My personal experience is I like to use both because I find that for some certain types of business, you need some of that old school. And for others, for the day-to-day, basically, you just want a smooth online process. You've got personal banking, you're coming here, you're fine, you've got your residency, you've got your transactions coming on. Things get a lot easier once you're a resident, but they also get a lot easier when your source of funds are actually coming from the UAE, for certain nationalities I'm talking about. Now, if you're probably from the UK, this isn't a problem, but if you're from other countries, let's say Southern Hemisphere countries, you may find that actually having a source of income from the UAE, plus a residency in the UAE, and plus, of course, if you're able to get a second passport through my firm, another nationality that is not high risk as opposed to your primary nationality, you'll find that those three things coming all together are really, really going to help you go to the next level in terms of banking, whether in the UAE or in the UAE or internationally. But once you get to personal banking, the next thing you want to do is probably have what is premier banking, excellency banking, and whatever else they call it, premium banking. That there you have to have a bigger investment with them, which can range from typically, I would say, about 1 million dirhams, sometimes 500,000 dirhams, which is about $150,000 to $250,000. Now, if you go there, you get a bit more service. I was with one bank, which I won't tell you the name of it because I'm still with them, but that was a bank that had a branch that I could go to, but it was only for those type of customers. And it was a very convenient place for me because I could have that, old school type of service, where sometimes I think it's really important to go there. And I thought they had really, really great service. They closed that branch now, so now I'm just like everybody else, and I don't really see the value. But that's premier banking. And so you invest a little bit more and you get better service. After this, you could be looking at probably private banking. Now, private banking has changed a lot over the years. You used to be able to get in with about $2 million net worth. They would say you need to invest at $2 million, and then we would give you, and they really take care of you. They have nice marketing collateral. They invite you for lunch and dinners and have very nice presentations and products and financial products thereafter. That's changed right now. So before it was 2 million, you could basically borrow from the bank 1 million. So you'd have a 1:1 leverage, and then you could start with them with just $1 million. That AUM requirement has now increased up to $5 million. You can still borrow against that and basically take about maybe 2.5, and then you could start with 2.5 of your own money to go in there. But that is not really a lot of attractive, even to a lot of my clients who are high net worth people, because it's like, can I just give you $200,000 and see how you do with 200,000 before I start giving you 2 million? That is something that has changed a lot. And what you'll find is that if you want to have UAE service for those banks and you're not ready to put in with that amount of money to start, they'll basically just say, go and deal with our home office, which is, if it's Switzerland or Singapore, it's probably going to be one of these two. You're going to find yourself in one of those two jurisdictions. And as a result of that, your relationship manager is going to be a lot more junior. You're going to get probably not the same service. And that is going to feed into the return on your investment. After that, you can also then go to investment banking. So investment banking is the next level up, where you essentially have much more sophisticated advice, much more sophisticated products. You get better FD rates on your fixed deposits. You will have better AUM fees. You'll have a lot of other benefits with that. That's probably the next level up for a lot of people. I know a lot of people talk about private banking, but there is actually a level above that I have found that has been really good, because you really plug into the top guys within that bank in their offices around the world. So you get into their FX team, you can get into their bonds team, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of talking about transferring money internationally, limits and fees and everything, you're just going to have to shop around and see what's going there. And there's no point in me telling you what my experience was of this, because the information just changes all the time. Banks change their fee structure all the time. They'll have an AUM fee, they'll have a transaction fee. You might find that their rates are a little bit strong on dollar to dirham, because that's a very common transaction to do, because typically it's at 3.66, rounded up to 3.67. But you'll see that some banks are not so attractive. That may change the more you bank with them and the more you reach the next strata up, and they'll give you a better difference on that. That's something that you'll find between dirham and dollars. Although the currencies are pegged, you'll find that some banks are better than others. The other reason why I'm not going to go into that is because I don't really do that stuff anymore. If you'd asked me 15 years ago when I started my business, I'd be an expert in the banks and what they charge. Now today, I have my legal team or my HR team or my finance team just bring me stuff and I sign it. So I can't really give you the best advice to that. If you did want to get any advice from anyone who talk about opening a bank account, that's great. I think they could really give you a lot of relevant insight. But at the same time, that also shows they're probably not that much further along down the line than where you are today, if they already know all the different things about opening one bank account here and there. So I think at the same time, I'm now at a stage in my life where I've kind of done that. I've been on to the next thing, and I can talk about different strata in terms of banking in the UAE or any other country, because I've kind of been through these steps. And I think that, in my personal opinion, puts me in a situation where I can give a lot of advice about, maybe not there yet, but I can just at least map out the way forward. When I started out, when I had to get my first little corporate bank account, and then when I found out, how to deal with the relationship managers, good banks, bad banks, and so on. The main takeaway I want you to know from all of this is that if the bank's got nothing in it, if there's nothing in it for the bank for you, then don't be surprised if you're going to get a bad service, you're going to get frustrated. There has to be a win-win, a quid pro quo. And I think this is something I hear many people say, is like, oh, but I don't have this from my bank and I don't have that, and they don't do this. It's like, well, how much you got invested with them? Okay, so you don't have anything at all. You just use them for your corporate banking. So all their exposure is to all these transfers that are coming in and out, and you don't have anything else with them. You don't have an insurance with them. You don't have a savings plan with them. You don't have an investment plan with them. You don't have credit cards. You don't have a mortgage. If you don't have any products with them that make money for them in terms of the money that they lend you or the credit card fees. I mean, get a credit card, pay it off every month. That's the best, simplest advice I could ever give. But if they're not making any money from you, why should you expect that they suddenly close down your corporate bank account because of one transaction from one person that you did or you didn't know, but that person or that company got flagged for some reason? That will happen to you eventually at some point. I know a lot of people that's happened to, and then they just complain about it to me. And I was like, well, what was the bank making from you? Oh, they weren't making anything at all. You didn't even have a personal bank account with them. So don't expect that that's going to happen to you. So the most important thing is just remember, it needs to be a win-win. Put a bit of savings with them, put a bit of an investment with them, give them something that's going to make money for them, like a loan or a mortgage or even a car loan or something. Car loans are quite good in the UAE, relatively speaking. And then lastly, the golden rule is, remember, relationship managers from your bank are called relationship managers for a reason. Not that they're going to manage the relationship with you, but that you should have a relationship with that person. Look after your relationship manager. It'll be the best piece of advice I'll ever say, because that person there is going to be critical to the relationship you have with the bank in making sure that you have a seamless personal and corporate banking relationship. Specifically corporate more so than personal, I would say. So remember that. That's the best piece of advice I can give you of 17 years being in Dubai, starting from an employee with a personal bank account all the way to where I am today. And if you want to know where I am today, there's plenty of videos. You can have a look around to see what I talk about, or you'll be able to see where I go or what I did in my life. And a lot of it is UAE centric, but a lot of it you'll start to see has been all around the world in terms of opening offices of my company overseas, recruiting people overseas, investing in property overseas, opening bank accounts overseas, opening companies overseas, and so on. MillionaireMigrant.com. If you go there, contact us if you want us to help you with some of the matters covered in this video, or click subscribe, follow the YouTube channels, sign up for the mailing list, and keep a track of everything that I'm going to be talking about, because I have a lot of advice that I'm more than willing at this stage in my life to impart with those people just starting on their journey, already advanced on their journey, and would like to say, hey, mate, I'd like a bit of advice. I'll be more than happy to help you with the support of my team. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.